Welcome back to Crochet by Landry. So this week we're going to be doing another part of our calendar blanket, and we're going to be making the next two ornaments on our list, and that is the Snowflake and the Mitten. So grab your Caron Simply Soft yarn in white and in cobalt blue, and grab your calendar blanket, and let's crochet our next two pieces of our calendar blanket, which is the Snowflake and the Mitten. Okay, so let's get started making the two ornaments we're going to make this week, and it's going to be the Snowflake and the Mitten. So what you're going to need is you're going to need your 5mm hook, which we've been using this whole time, some scissors, a yarn needle, your yarn, which is the Caron Simply Soft in white and in cobalt blue, and the pattern, if you want to follow along with me, it's at yarnspirations.com. I'll put the link in the description box down below so you can follow along as well, or if you're going to try and catch up. And let's get started making the two ornaments we're going to make this week, which is the Snowflake and the Mitten. Okay, so let's get started making our snowflake for our tree, our ornament blanket. So we're going to start with a slip knot and a chain 2 to begin. Okay, so we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put 6 single crochets in that second chain from our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5, and that's 6. Okay, and now what you're going to do is you're going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet that you made, and then chain 2 to begin the next round. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 half double crochets in each of the stitch all the way around, going from 6 to 12. The chain 2 does not count as a stitch. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook where you joined, pull up a loop without splitting your yarn, and then you have 3 on your hook, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And you're going to do that in each stitch all around 2 times. So you're going to go from 6 stitches to 12 by the end of this round. And once you've reached the end, I will meet you there and we will move on to round 3 together. All right, so once you've finished your round, join with a slip stitch to that first half double crochet that you made. To begin round 3, you're going to chain 1. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of the first 2 half doubles that you made. So, oops, without letting your hook slip out. So 1 in the first, then 1 in the next. Now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2. So then 1 and 2, and then chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3, and you're just going to repeat this all the way around. And 2 single crochets. Then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 single crochets. That's 1, that's 2, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and your final chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then just join with a slip stitch to that first stitch you made. There we go. Now for round 4, what you're going to do is you're going to do 1 slip stitch in the first 2 single crochets. So 1, and then 2. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you get into that chain 3 space right here to begin your round. And then what you're going to do is so we already did a slip stitch. Now you're going to chain 2 and then slip stitch back in to the chain 3 space. Okay, so now what we're going to do is you're going to keep going. So slip stitch in each of the single crochets. 1, and then 2, and then chain 2, and then slip stitch back in to that chain 3 space. And then you're going to slip stitch in the next 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and then slip stitch into that chain 3 space, chain 2, 1, 2, and then slip stitch back in. And you're just going to keep going all the way around, and you're just slip stitching and chaining in this round. So slip stitch in each of the single crochets, and then start with a slip stitch in that chain 3 space, chain 2, slip stitch back into it, and then each of the single crochets, get a slip stitch, oops, without letting your hook do that. And then in the chain 3 space, start with a slip stitch, chain 2, slip stitch back in. Okay, and then you're going to keep going until you get to the beginning. I'll finish this last little stretch on your own and I'll meet you there. So if you finish, that's great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make the little loop that goes so we can hang our ornament on our Christmas tree blanket. So chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then join with a slip stitch to the last slip stitch that you made, or one of the first stitches that you made. There we go. Okay, and once you've done that, you can trim your yarn, pull out your loop. Sorry, my hook doesn't like to stay in place. There we go. Okay, and there's our snowflake. And what you want to do now is maybe take a minute and weave in all your ends so it's nice and clean when we go to hang it on our project. So just take your yarn needle and weave in all those tails. There we go. And there is our first ornament today, our snowflake. So let's grab our white and our cobalt blue and we'll get started on the mitten. Okay, so let's get started on the mitten. You're going to need the 2 colors of white and cobalt blue, but let's start with our white. What you're going to do is you're going to start with a slip knot and you're going to chain 14 to get started. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Now what you're going to do is you're going to join your chain here. Try not to twist your chain, but you're going to join with a slip stitch to get started, because we're going to be working in a round. Now what we're going to do for round 1 is chain 2 to begin, and then we're going to put 1 half double crochet in each stitch all the way around. You should still have 14 by the end of the first round. So just put 1 stitch in each chain like you would normally if it was a straight one. We are making a mitten, so this is going to take some time. So do 1 stitch in each round, and I'll meet you at the beginning, and we'll move on to the next round together. Okay, so once you're finished, join with a slip stitch to the first half double crochet you made. Now, before you cut your white yarn, because we're done with the white, you're going to join with your cobalt blue, and I'm just going to chain 1 with it. So I'm starting with the blue. And I'm actually just going to trim the white so it's out of my way. Push that off to the side. And now I'm working with the blue. And then we'll weave in all the ends and everything later. Or you can do it as you go. It's up to you. And I actually might work over some of these tails just to make it a little easier. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, in the back loops only, we're going to put 1 single crochet in the first and 1. So we're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And I'm going to work over my tails just to make it a little easier, and I may trim them. That way I can trim them later. But I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in the back loops only. Now, I'm going to back up here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the back loop is the stitch that's farthest away from you. So it's not what you do is both loops normally. It's the back one. So the one that's farthest away from you, that's the stitch you're working in. And like I said, I'm going to work over my tails just to make it a little easier later, and I can cut them later. So you're still going to have 14 stitches. So do that all the way around, and then join with a slip stitch at the first stitch you made when you get to the beginning, and I will meet you there, and we'll move on to the thumb part together. All right, so once you've finished your round, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet that you made. And what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 1 to begin the next round, and we're going to start working on the thumb part of the mitten. So we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 2 stitches. So 1 and 2, and then in the next 2 single crochets, you're going to put 2 stitches in one. So the first one, there's 1 and 2, and then in the next stitch, you're going to do the same thing. 1 and 2, okay? And then 1 single crochet in each of the remaining stitches. And then join with a slip stitch to the beginning, and once you get there, I will meet you there, and we will move on to round 2 of the thumb together. Okay, so for round 2, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 to begin, then you're going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, then 2 in the next one after that, so 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2. So 1 and 2. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do 2 in the next. 1 and 2. And then you're going to put 1 in each of the remaining stitches all the way around. What you're doing is you're building up the thumb portion of the mitten. So finish off this round, and I will meet you at the beginning, and we'll move on to the next part together. So now we're going to be working on the hand portion of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 to begin. And you're going to put 1 single crochet in the first 2 like you've been doing. So 1 and 2, and now what you're going to do is you're going to skip 4 single crochets and then 1 single crochet in each of the remaining. So let's skip 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then single crochet in that 5th stitch. Okay, and then just single crochet in the remaining stitches all the way around back to the beginning. And once you get back to the beginning, I'll meet you there, and we will keep going on the hand portion for now, and then we'll do the thumb. All right, so for round 2, you're just going to chain 1, and it's going to be really simple. You're just going to put 1 stitch, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And then once you get back, we will keep going and finish off the hand portion and then move on to the thumb. So, but keep going on this round, 1 stitch in each, and I will meet you back at the beginning. Okay, so now for next round, we're going to start making the hand portion smaller, so then we can move on to the thumb. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch. Okay, and then next one, we're going to single crochet 2 together. So let's insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then insert your hook, pull up another loop on the next stitch. So you have 3, and then yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. So then the next one is single crochet in the next stitch, and then decrease in the next 2 stitches. So when you're decreasing, you're making 2 stitches, 1 stitch. So then single crochet, and then a decrease. Okay, and then you're just going to repeat this all the way around to back to the beginning. Okay, and then I think I got room for 1 more decrease. And then join with a slip stitch to that first one you made. Now this is going to get a little tricky because the hole's getting a little smaller, so just have patience. Now for the next round, what we're going to do is you're just going to decrease 5 times. So chain 1 and then start the 5 decreases. So this is 1. This is 2. Like I said, just take your time. If it gets frustrating, just put it down and walk away and then come back to it. I'll be here. And you're just going to decrease all the way around until you get back to the beginning. Sorry if I'm drifting off camera here. I'm trying to take my time just like you guys. Okay, I think you got 1 more decrease in it. All right, and then just join with a slip stitch to that top. Actually, yeah, join with a slip stitch to the top of the first decrease you made. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to fasten off, leave a bit of a tail, not too long, for sewing. And what we're going to do is we're just going to sew this top hole closed, kind of like a drawstring bag. So what you want to do is you just want to take some of the stitches, which is usually the outer stitch, and just weave your yarn needle in and out of those stitches. So that way, when you pull, it pulls closed like a drawstring bag. And then just weave in your ends so it doesn't come undone on you. And then trim your end. And that's the hand portion of our mitten. Now we're going to work on the thumb part. So what we're going to do next, and I'll meet you there. So what we're going to do is we're going to join with a slip stitch to one of the skip stitches that we started with, or that we had in that round that we did where we skipped 4 stitches. So what you want to do is you want to just insert your hook and join with a slip stitch. So put a slip knot on your hook and then just put your hook through one of the stitches and pull the yarn through with a slip stitch. Now what we're going to do is you're going to try and you're going to do 2 rounds of single crochets in those 4 stitches that you missed. So you're just going to go around 2 times, 4 stitches in each round, and that's it for the thumb. So let's see if we can, I'm going to try and fold this a little bit just to see if it makes it a little easier. So let's try this. We're going to do 2 rounds. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and that's 4. That's the first round. And then I'm going to try and find that first stitch I made and join with a slip stitch. Now this might be a little tricky, and I apologize if I'm drifting off camera, but I'm going to let my loop out a little bit, and then I'll pull it back in a minute when I get my hook situated. Sometimes pulling out your loop a little bit to reach a stitch is the only way to do it. So now do another round of stitches, and then after that I'll meet you at the end and we'll finish off the mitten together. Okay, so once you've done those 2 rounds of 4 single crochets, what you want to do now is fasten off, trim your yarn, not too long of a tail. And now what we're going to do is you're just going to close off the thumb portion of the mitten, just like we did with the top. So you're just going to kind of make like a little drawstring by picking up the outside stitches and pulling it closed. And then just sew the ends in as best as you can. And then trim the tail when you're done. Okay, and then make sure you do the same thing to the other tail, is weave it in as well. So that way, there you go. Now let's make the loop portion of our mitten here. So that's the mitten portion of the blanket. So now we're going to do is we're going to make the little loop so we can hang it on our blanket. So you're going to start with a slip knot. And then what you're going to do is chain 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you're just going to fasten off. Leave a little bit of a tail, not too long. And then you're just going to take that and you're actually just going to sew it onto your blanket. Or not onto your blanket, sorry, onto your mitten. I'm just going to pick a little corner here. Then I'm going to do the other end as well. Not in the same spot though, different spot, just kind of next to it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tie these in a knot so it doesn't go anywhere. And then I'm just going to actually trim those ends a little short so they're not in the way. And there's our mitten portion of our calendar blanket. And that's it for today, everybody. We made the snowflake and the mitten to go on our calendar blanket. So don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I'll see you next week for more crochet fun. And leave a comment in below if you'd like to know how my big market went last week. I can share that with you next weekend if you would like, but leave a comment and I'll see you next week, everybody. Bye.